Transformational competence. Okay, let's say got it. Yeah. Yeah, transformational competence. This idea of the ability to transform input, text, stuff that students actually read into writing. This ability that they have, this competence that they have. I've called it transformational competence. Okay, so I'm just going to look at the syllabus main features and some examples, look at the read and respond text, and some correlations, and then some discussion afterwards. The discussion might be a little bit oblique, but hopefully you get something out of it. Okay, next slide, please. Right, so you could say that we're all in the process, if we're involved in universities at any level, we're all in the process of taking information, melding other people's ideas, however you want to put it, but there are lots of different perspectives on it. So I thought, what about a psychological perspective on this activity? So I thought of, is it a dynamic activity which interacts with the task demands? A sort of psychological way of looking at things. Or could we take a sociological perspective, a marker or index of achievement in the academic field? In one sense, we're all at various levels in this process. And you could say that students are apprentice academics in this sense, and they stay apprentices until they go through the whole process, or they leave it and go and get a job in a bank somewhere, but they're with us for a certain period. Or we could look at it from a practical perspective, which is a skill that needs constant honing. Now, this is something that I find all the time whenever I try and write anything. I'm always having to go back to this idea of taking ideas from other people and putting it into words. It's something I think that's constant, and it's something that we never probably completely master. Okay, and there was anything else? Yeah, it's an ongoing process. Next slide, please. So with this in mind, we like to make explicit to students what it is that we're going to teach them and what it is that they're going to need. So this is what we tell them. This is taken from the student handbook, which is often a lesson in itself. And hopefully the student actually read this, but we remind them of it constantly. You will use general and academic vocabulary for reading and writing in a controlled, accurate and flexible way. Demonstrate controlled and accurate, flexible use of a wide variety of complex sentence structures, and the other one, structure a paragraph logically. Integrating and synthesizing relevant supporting detail. Next slide, please. Okay, obviously we can all read this, but I think the point I want to make about this is that we deliberately we use heavy linguistic terminology. We use academic register. We familiarize the students with this academic register, and we get them used to the type of language, this type of language that they're going to encounter in academic text. We take, I suppose we've taken the terminological brakes off, so we hit them with this. And as I said earlier, I think students do like this heavy duty language. They like the idea that we are experts and that they are engaging in scientific academic discourse, say scientific linguistic discourse. They do like it. Next slide, please. Right, so I'm just going to give some examples of the materials. What we've done with a 10-week program, which all students have to do, whether they're here for a year, 20 weeks, 15 weeks, 10 weeks, or whatever, they all have to do this program. So we've themed it And the first theme is technology and education. So here's an example text, and typical activity, main topic, student, teacher, participant, who is the intended audience, and would you use this in an assignment about the benefits of online learning? Okay, to sensitize students to academic writing. Next text, please. Here's an example from the second phase. So we've called this one Education and Virtual Reality. Now, if you notice, we have to make the themes subject neutral, because we have so many students from such a wide variety of backgrounds. If we choose something which is a little bit too subject specific, then other students could say, well, this isn't fair, this isn't my discipline. So obviously they're all doing an English language course, so that they know that there's a degree of discipline specificity, but we try to keep it subject neutral. Obviously, education virtual reality is one of those. So this is the example of formal, informal writing. Read the text and decide if it contains these features. Okay. Next example, please. Next text, next slide. The third phase, which they would do probably after about 4 or 5 weeks, communication and social media. So if you see how we put in the references, we sensitize the students very much to the amount of references that they're going to have to use. This is largely a reading focused exercise. Next phase, next slide, please. I think I've probably got a bit too many slides here. Yeah, the last one is intercultural competence. So you can see that this is possibly a little bit oriented towards TEFL. And we'd have quite a lot of TEFL students. The students could say, well, this is unfair to TEFL students that you've got so much of an emphasis on English as a lingua franca. But generally, I think we're okay with this. We've all got skin in the game, as it were. So summarize how the various definitions differ. Start your summary with a sentence and finish with a sentence, and then a model summary can then be provided. Okay, so we're giving them a start and we're giving them an end, and we're asking them to fill in. So if you want a model, if you like, a model for progression in this, that we gradually take the cotton wool off. So hopefully by the time they get to the end of our program, they're able to write an academic essay independently. That's the idea. Okay, next slide, please. So I'm just going to look at one aspect of the assessment, which is the read and respond test that we use. So I'm going to talk about its evolution, briefly about its evolution, the rationale, the internal components, and the score correlations such as we have. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so it developed from a reading to writing test. This was a self-selected evaluation of an academic article. We made them evaluate an academic article with text brought into the exam room. And then we asked them to write an academic research paper. This is 2,500 words produced in class. And it was assessed for transformative quality and language quality. Now, this has evolved into the current form, which is designed to be better against plagiarism. It's designed to be more online friendly and easy to administer. We found that the older stuff was a little bit unwieldy, and there was always a possibility of a slight possibility of plagiarism. It didn't happen very often. But obviously students are writing independently. There's always a possibility of that. Okay, also in the online environment that we find ourselves, or we found ourselves, we have to have something that was easy to administer. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this assesses a student's real-time ability to synthesize his sources from text. It takes place in an exam context. Students read 2 short academic texts. Okay. They then have the example question, discuss the advantages and disadvantages of multicultural group work in the development of intercultural competence. Use the short text provided to support your arguments. So you should write approximately 500 words and you've got 2 hours. Okay, I think this probably encapsulates our approach pretty clearly. Okay. This is what we asked them to do. Next slide, please. Now, this is how we mark it, and I've, as you can see, we relate it to the IELTS score and the top band CEFR along these dimensions. Now, these are examples of start again. These are the descriptors for a high level. This is what we want students to do. And I think if you know what it is you want, then it's pretty clear what you don't want. I used to do a lot of exam work where you were given borderline scripts to look at with borderline descriptors. So I like to say what it is we're really looking for. So in terms of task, achievement, argument, and analysis, engaging critically with generally sophisticated arguments, skillful paraphrasing. Then text organization, very well structured, coherent text, and sequencing of ideas, very skillfully managed. Next slide, please. Grammatical range and accuracy, wide range of complex structures, and there are frequent error-free sentences. I like that descriptor. And then vocabulary, wide range of vocabulary, errors in word choice are occasional, and then register is appropriate. So if we can get students up to that level, then we are very, very pleased indeed. Okay, I must fly. Next slide, please. Now the reading test, text is, they read 2 academic, again, subject neutral texts with fact retrieval, inference, matching, and general text related questions. So here's an example text, the challenge of developing critical thinking. And an example question, the word proliferation is closest in meaning to. So it's very text-directed reading activity. Next slide, please. You probably recognize this one. Select the best word from each space of the drop-down menu to complete the summary. Select the word which best matches the definition. What does the writer imply by the following extracts? And you just have to use your imagination here. They're pretty much standard, but they're fitting very much with the online format. And the text is clerically marked. This particular text will be clerically marked. Okay. Yeah. Next slide, please. Okay. Correlations. Now, the original, the format for this, the reading into writing an academic research paper, the scores were positively correlated, not significantly correlated, relatively low, but in the right direction. There was a pretty high spread of values and a p-value of 0.31, low probability of a chance relationship. So that gave us cause for optimism. The read and response writing components, we've not yet fully statistically correlated, but the means are 61 and 63.5 respectively. The spread appears to be narrow, and overall there's appears to be a small positive correlation. So in other words, the two evolved tests seem to be very similar in what it is they're assessing, and there does appear to be a positive correlation. Obviously, I'd like it to be up to 0.8. If it would be possible to do that, then we can do that. Then that'd be great, but unfortunately, we're not there yet. Okay. Next slide, please. Right, this relates to feedback. So student awareness of the competence is enhanced by regular tutorials with direct focus on confidence and regular feedback on pre and post class activities. And this is where class teachers raise issues of possible plagiarism with students, and if serious, raise the issues with course leaders. So I'm just going to give you some feedback from the students from the previous year's online course. So we asked them, what were the most important skills you've learned? I can finish some academic writing, quickly read articles. Next slide, please. Don't be shy to express opinions. Express myself bravely. We asked them how far you feel you've been stretched and challenged. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, what skills and strategies did you acquire for your future course? I like that one. Fluent oral English and writing ability. Okay, next slide, please. For next year, the 2021 I apologize. For this year, the 2021 program, we had 65 classes. We had just under 1,000 students, 61 online, 4 on campus, 2 hybrid. We had approximately 20 resits of various components and a few dropouts through lack of engagement, with 0 fails after resit. Okay, the ones who went home were there voluntarily. Okay, they left because they didn't want to do the course or whatever, but there were only a few of them. Next slide, please. So for next year, we want refinement and modification of the materials. Plan to be mainly campus-based with some possible online hybrid provision. It's a bit early to tell yet. Next slide, please. And the closing student comment is, how much did your level of English improve during your course? A lot, but I still have a long way to go. Okay, I hope I haven't rushed that, but I got into 20 minutes. Is that right, Louise? Okay.
Yes, you have 20 minutes on the nose. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. I hope I haven't rushed it through too much.
Yeah. No, I think you covered an awful lot of ground there with everything. So well done on that front. I'm just going to stop the recording now. And